67 Camaro, major surgery. Dan here, the Speed Shop. So we're working Camaro still. We've been doing all kinds of cutting and welding, and for whatever reason, you guys have been watching and super supportive. Shocker. So where we left it, everything is kind of just pieced together. Nothing is permanente, but it is starting to look more and more like a car, and I'm more and more happy with it. Realistically, I think we only have another video or two of real ugly work before it becomes kind of the fun stuff. When I say fun stuff, I mean just less awful. So where we left it, we had both quarter panels kind of tacked on. We have the wheel tubs in. I had replaced this rear frame rail, and we were just going to work on this one. I don't know how far we'll go. We'll have to do a little measuring. This quarter panel doesn't fit the greatest. This one fits a little bit better. I had talked about, well, today, what we're going to do. I picked up another frame rail. You don't really want to use part of it. You know, you buy the whole thing because they're really good quality, and I actually really enjoy it. So I might put in a little bit more. I don't know. And we're going to do the trunk floor pan. So not the most glamorous work, but you know what? This car will be super solid when we're done. And once we get that taken care of, we just have to do the front leaf spring perch on the driver's side and see how rotten it is. We might take that apart today. We'll see how far we get. And then once we get all that kind of in, then it's kind of more fun stuff. I've ordered leaf springs and shackles, and I have a rear end for it. I have a 12 bolt out of a Nova. I think it should just bolt right in here. And I think that's what we're gonna do next, is all those parts show up tomorrow. It's be kind of cool to make this thing a roller again. I'm really not a big fan of having stuff tied up on the lift where I can't move it, but such is life. So you guys had a lot of good advice, and I'm going to use some of it and probably ignore a bunch of it, but that's one thing. What people did said is they were seeing other people, they would plug weld the frame in. So what I did is I just ground out each of the frame rail plugs, and I drilled them in the exact same spot. So that's, you know, as many plug welds as there was. And people are saying that guys will seam weld the frame to the floor, which makes sense for more strength. Obviously we'll plug weld it and then just, you know, kind of buzz them in. I didn't do the inside of the frame, as the trunk pan, it kind of curves up and it has that little section. I think it might be easier to join it right on the frame. I can weld it right to it. Nice solid welds. And then we have to get into the inner tubs, and then it's stretching out these quarter panels so they fit just a little bit better. They aren't bad. They need a little love. I did get a tail pan because they were so cheap, but I don't know if I'm going to change it. And here's my thoughts. The quarter panels are a little on the short side. You can see a tail pan sticks out, and I originally thought, well, I can kind of push the tail pan in and this and that. Well, not quite the case, because there is an inner structure here, which is actually in nice shape. It's a little rusty, but it's not too bad. This car has been hit, and actually a lot of you guys had mentioned what probably happens, it got hit, it got pulled back, and I guess when it gets pulled back, sometimes the kink doesn't come out of it, because the car doesn't appear to be any shorter. I did do a lot of measuring off camera and made sure, like here, the door and all that, they're the same. I mean, within spec. So it's probably been pulled back. Everything is kind of square and does its thing. The doors open and close nice. The glass fit good. The old panels were fitting on there. Like, it was I don't want to say a solid car because it's rotten, but it was a good car, a good bones. There's not even good bones, I guess, because it's basically a back half at this point. It's going to be crazy how much new metal there is. All we're not changing is this part of the trunk floor. How ridiculous is that? Everything else will be new metal all the way back, but it should be nice. What else we got going on there? So yeah, I think what I might do is use that tail pan that I currently have, the one that's in it, because I'm not going to be able to move the tail pan forward unless I change all the inner bracing and structure, which is actually attached to the frame rails, which are at the right level. So I think it's just going to be a matter of kind of either pulling this in or pulling that back and, you know, putting a lot of force on it, tack welding it, and seeing what can happen. This could go back just slightly, which if I move it back that much, it'll probably take care of almost everything back there as well. So we got some figuring and screwing around to do, but that's for another day. for today. Let's lift it up. Let's see if we can get this frame rail out, see where we want to cut it. And we'll probably start by getting all the junk out of here and get that trunk pan in. Bit of a hassle, but we'll get through it. All right, we got this hot rod up in the air. I cut just a little bit of the floor out right here so I could get to the bolts to loosen it. Where did I put it? I know with my organization skills, I can't believe I lost it. Oh, here it is. So here's, yikes. So here's what happens. These things, the subframe or the perch is attached to the subframe with these little speed clips with a nut on them. So I mean, they're whatever they are, what they are. What happens every single time, obviously, you go to, it seizes, the bolt seizes in the nut, because that's what happens, and you go to crank it loose, and this isn't attached to anything, it's just held on with this little bit of sheet metal. It rips the sheet metal off no matter what you do. And this had been heated up and all sorts of things. Spray penetrating oil, wasn't gonna happen. Oh, I'm stuck. Anyway, let's go to the light here. This side, well, that's how we had to make a pocket for it. This side is mint. It's got, look at that, all 3 layers, clearly lots of, there's like no issue. I had to cut, well, I screwed up a little bit, but it's mint. So we got to put a few new nuts in. I'll weld those in, and that is going to go right back together without any screwing around. Then on the top, I'll just plate it with some like 16 gauge, some overkill steel, make a nice little box for it. It'll match the other side. The other side might be a little tougher, but who cares? The frame on this side is actually in really nice shape. You can still see the factory paint and all that. Now at the back is where it gets kind of crusty. Arguably, you might be able to just kind of get in there and plate it and go from there, but you know what? I don't want to do that. I think what I'm going to do, I might just join it, just this back section, just right there. And that's it, back. Underneath, this is our little inner panel. It's actually in nice shape. There's not, I mean, it's solid. It's bent here and there. Obviously, I cut into it. We could probably bend the whole thing back or whatever you want to do to kind of make things match, especially because the frame is welded to it. This is the gas tank structure, which I have new ones of these. They're actually not complete awful. That one's kind of shitty. But anyways, when we put a new floor in, we'll put new supports in, or saddles, we're going to call them. So that attaches there as well. Well, if we have that off, the trunk floor and the back frame rails, that one might be tacked in. This can have some flex to it again. So we'll have a lot more movement. As for the pan, the trunk pan, you can see it's got its big well, and then it kind of kicks up and then it flattens out. Same as here. So it's got its big well, it's got its little, you know, kick up, and then it flattens out. So it actually joins all the way up there if we want. I'm thinking I'll probably splice it somewhere right across here. That way I can weld it, clean it, and it'd be kind of nice and easy, nice flat spot. And then we'll cut it up and join it maybe on top of the frame rails or something like that. So the next step will be probably removing this quarter panel skin. It's only just tacked on, but that'll make my life a lot easier to get in there. And then we can start slicing and dicing out the trunk floor and all sorts of stuff. So let's just fast motion through that until this thing is completely ripped apart. And we'll start going from there. Honestly, I have a lot of confidence. This should be a pretty good one. We should be able to get a lot done in this video. Ugly work, but you know what? If you're working on hot rods, you understand ugly work. We'll get that dialed. If leaf springs show up tomorrow and all that, we can start giving her. I got to weld in the wheel tubs and all that to the frame, unfortunately. But again, if these are seam welded, and then if I weld the tubs right to it, we're just going to weld everything to everything. And hopefully it has a lot of strength. As long as the doors open and close, it's fine. All right, another hole. Man, I feel like we just had this thing together. Anyway, so we got the trunk floor kind of out. I got to clean up. This is what's left of the bracket for the fuel tank. That one actually broke right off, and this came off without anything. This is the latch for the trunk, so story of my life. So I was thinking about doing the frame rail, but that's all that's kind of holding this for sturdiness. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the floor in, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lap over top of this, grind this down so it'll be right on top of this structure piece, which again is in just cherry shape. It's funny that some of this car is just so good and other parts are just so not. Then up here, there's a spot right here, and I'll show you on this, where it's kind of flat. There's not a whole lot going on with it. So if I can cut right around there-ish, maybe even I'll go up there, it'll be easy to weld. And then same thing, I'll go up over top, and then I can decide what I want to do there, if I want to butt weld it or if I want to just lap it, which again might be stronger if I can go over top, drill a bunch of holes, and plug weld it all together and then seam weld it. It's just one more layer on top of the frame rail, and then when I put the frame rails in, we'll, same thing, we'll plug them in, but then we'll weld the hell out of them. So it'll just be like a sandwich. And that's, I mean, when it comes to these subframe cars, or new cars for that matter, it's like multiple layers of thin metal versus a big frame rail. So I think that might be the way to go. And then there, I'll cut it and butt weld. This will be kind of seamless. There you'll be able to see, a little bit of weld, and then here we'll just plug weld it the whole way across, and then once we seam seal and do whatever, no one will ever really know. And in my mind, just a few extra inches of weld or metal or whatever, it's just that much stronger. So it's not laziness, it's a little bit of laziness, but it's trying to be smarter with the work. And then I probably should do wheel tubs while the quarters are off. It'd be a lot easier to get in there, whatever I want to do, weld that all in if I'm going to plate in there. And then ultimately I should probably paint this stuff, but tomorrow actually this lower section is supposed to show up, so it might be best just waiting another day and seeing where we end up tomorrow. Just give her as much as I can tonight, and then do a little bit more tomorrow. I'm gonna think about that for a minute. Okay, so I fast forwarded just a little bit. The pan's just sitting in there. I want to see how it's gonna fit. I cut off the back a little bit, right there. Just the 90 kick up, and then just a few inches in the front, and then I trimmed the sides to fit around the ginormous wheel tubs. So that's pretty sweet. So now what we're gonna do, I marked where this is gonna be, so I'm gonna have to grind all this down, which it actually fits almost on the outside of the frame rail, so that's pretty slick. I'm gonna use the whole panel, might as well. I'm gonna drill a bunch of holes in it. I'm gonna plug weld it all in to start, and then I'll finish weld it after. Same thing here, plug weld it. We have to clean everything up. I was looking at this thing, I'm like, this son of a bitch, this, the fuel tank is like, nothing's lined up here. Look at that. Stupid Camaro. She's got a little schwank in her. So that's cool, that works. And then I can get this bit of a trick here. You have to trust me, but that panel down there, I cleaned that all up, it looks really good. So I'm pretty stoked on that. I did put this brace in. I'd like to get this frame rail out, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might end up just kind of cutting excuse me, the one side of it and leave this side, because that's easy to get to. Once this pan goes in, well, you can see this is where the inner frame rail runs. So to get up in there is gonna be a bit of a nightmare. So I think what I'm going to do is just blindly cut the side of it out, and then I can get to it from the other side after. We got a little bit more structure in there. It ain't going nowhere. Well, I say that as the frame rail's still in it. Yeah, I don't know what to do there. Not really a whole lot of other options. So I think I might just wing it, see what happens. It'll be fine. Set the camera up, we'll start cutting, welding, grinding. Self-tappering, I'm going to self-tapper it in first, then do all that. So it'll be a lot of screwing around, but I'll bring you back. Be good. Oh yeah. A lot of progress, a lot of screwing around, a lot of grinding. It's terrible. But we got the chunk pan in, peppered it with screws, so it's pretty flat in there. Yeah, it should look pretty dang on good. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna plug weld it in from probably here back. Well, I'll seam weld the sides. Plug weld the back. I'm gonna take a break for dinner because I'm starving. Danny's cooking right now. Then when we come back, it's the pan is sitting on top at the front as well. So I'll kind of cut that back, and we should be able to, if I cut from underneath, I should be able to cut the black metal off and then just kind of seam weld it in some way, shape, or form there. Be a little ugly to do that, but with this back in welded, I put this little brace in. I cut the frame out, but I only cut half. Here we go. So the frame is like a big C, right? So I cut half of it, so now it's an angle iron frame, which I think is probably good enough. So if I get that all dialed together, that welded in, then I could take that bracing out. It'd be a lot easier to get in there and weld it, or I could probably weld it from underneath, now that I think about it, if I want. And then, yeah, seam seal it. Man, we are not keeping much with the factory panels, but that'll be good, nice and strong, everyone's happy. Let's get to welding. Boom, welded in. So we got her plug welded in, and I filled in all the little screw holes, and we welded the whole edge the whole way around, plug weld across the back. From here forward is nothing, but we'll just leave it for now. Supper time, pretty important. Cut the bottom out, or however I'm gonna do that. I haven't quite decided yet. Get that welded, and then we can work on this back section of the frame rail, which ultimately is actually probably gonna go right up to the middle of the wheel arch. So just that's an easy place to join behind the bump stop. Put that whole section in, and we should be good. Now, on this side, I seam welded the frame to the floor because it was still there. On this side, obviously the frame's still in there. I'll just drill a bunch of holes right through, and we'll weld all the sandwich metal to the top of the floor, and then we can seam weld if we can get in there. But really, I think we're probably gonna end up seam welding the side, because that's a lot easier to get to, just because there's room. You can't really get a whole lot in there. The frame rail does go to about there, right? Well, that's nice and strong again. And I finally feel like we've turned a corner where more new metal is going in than coming out. There's not, I can't, every time, the amount of stuff that comes out of an old ratty car blows my mind. But this will be nice once it's all painted and all that stuff. Be pretty good. See you after supper. Okay, so we're up in the air. I'll just kind of show you here what my plan is. Kind of blinded myself with this thing. So, this floor is the new panels overlapping the old floor. So if I just zip that right down the line, give it a mark to go straight up on both sides, cut it that way, the pan will fall down. I can then weld it from the top or the bottom, whichever is easiest. I then, you can see the pan is sitting over top of the floor, and that is where the frame rail is supposed to go. This will be perfect. Now you see all those little marks? I'm going to drill through all those, and that will give me all sorts of plug welds to plug weld the frame in. This side I'll be able to clean up real nice. And I don't know where I'm going to go on the frame, probably junk on it. Probably somewhere around there, whatever's easy. Cut it, get that out. We'll have to clean that all up and put it in. So there'll be a fair amount of time lapse, but I would like to get this kind of taken care of tonight if I could. And then hopefully tomorrow, by the time I get home from work, the inner braces will be taken, or the for the quarter crank down window or whatever, be done. Then I can really start painting everything. Then we can work on the quarters. And oh, look at the amount of new metal over here, right? This will all be filled in with a trunk drop down, brand new. Look pretty good. A little bit of paint back there. We do have those braces. I don't know if I'll put those on now or not. I do have the old tank. And actually, you know, the tank might be here tomorrow too. We'll see what comes in, but a little bit more grinding. And it's ugly, and I'm getting tired of it, but this is the worst part. Like, honestly, I mean, it's not a two-post lift, it's not a rotisserie. This little scissor lift, people ask about it all the time. I got it on Facebook. One of the best things I've ever bought in my life. By a good welder, a good grinder, some safety gear. A heated shop is always nice, but this lift is like absolute game changer. So I highly recommend it. I think it was $1,800, $1,600 used or something like that. So not cheap, but definitely affordable. All right, let's get started on this garbage. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had enough. Battery's dead. I'm tired. We got this thing mostly dialed together. We can show the trunk floor, but we got that kind of sorted and tacked into place. And then jumped on the frame rail. That's what the trunk looks like. So we got a little gap to fill in there. I might do stuff from underneath. Grind it down. I did the one side while the frame rail was out. That's all taken care of. It had a little bit of schmutz in there. I might just auger it out and give it another bead tomorrow. Everyone, well, not everyone, there's a few people saying plate it, a fish plate, which I hear you, and I mean, I'm not, by no means am I a frame guy, but this not, the fact that this is not a, like, cab on chassis style vehicle, and if I weld, I mean, it's gonna be seam welded the whole way down the side, and then I want to put a bar across here to here to kind of strengthen it as well for the shocks. And then I mean, if I seam weld all, like, I don't know, I feel like they just look ugly. I understand that they're strong and all that, just looks tacky, so I'd rather not do it, but we'll see, I guess. If it bends, it bends. Or I'll add the plate in. This is now, so I screwed the subframe in, so it's on the exact marks that we had before it worked out. It lined up there just fine. I just gave it a bead down the side. I'll weld that tomorrow. Up top, you can see everything lined up exactly where the holes were, so I'm happy with that. But the battery has one dot on it. I am over grinding and welding, so hopefully tomorrow these bottom pieces will show up. Because if I can get these bottom bits in, bottom bits in, then I can do the wheel wells, finish the frame. All like the inner structure stuff will be done. I gotta do the trunk pan. There's a lot of welding. I might just start doing some of my own. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little tedious and a little boring, but the structure stuff can kind of come out of it now. And the next couple of videos will be like hanging quarters and like rockers and aligning stuff, putting a rear end in it, like making it a roller, but a roller that is strong and not held together with, you know, rust and garbage. Car's looking cool. I know we're not making a lot of progress, but this is a great example of you guys that go out and look at a car, look pretty complete. Everyone's like, oh, that thing's so cool, this and that. How much work it is. And all old cars are like this, unfortunately. Unless you're really paying up and you have a really good low mile California, Arizona car or something like that. A lot of people are like, oh, you're surprised. Not really. I'm never surprised with the garbage I buy. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. We'll carry on doing, I am assuming, rust repair. Oh, hey guys. New day. I actually started doing a bunch of work, just ugly, boring stuff. I think that last clip of the time lapse was like an hour and 20 minutes. that I condensed down to whatever it worked out to be. So I was probably really hustling on that. So I did another couple hours of work here before right when I got home from the old day job. But I got everything kind of welded in, seam welded. I just give it a quick grind. Nothing's too fantastic, but you know, outer rail are those two. Obviously, it's all sandwiched together. Seam welded the pan the whole way in, and we lapped it on the edges. That one I did drop it down. So that will be, you know, a little bit of seam sealer the whole way around, and then we'll, you know, undercoat or do whatever we have to do. We still got to take care of wheel tubs, so that's a big job. Now let's lift this thing up for a second, because I also seam welded the outside of the frame right to the floor. So that back section of frame, like she is in there. It's slow moving. I'll bend down for you. You can see in there. Can you see in there? That's completely welded right to the floor. That'll be good. And then again, so that's all boxed. I'm gonna make sure when I put in this trunk drop, am I gonna grab the right one? Probably not. What size is this? Missile left. Oh, look at that. So this is gonna go just like that. This wire going. The same thing, that'll go, I gotta do some trimming, but that'll fit there, weld that all the way across, and then the bottom gets welded to the quarter. Like everything on these cars, I'm treating it as structural. On like a Tri-5 Chevy, I mean the quarter panel blazing on there, who cares? On this, I really want to make sure we're going to weld it to that. We'll probably weld it to the inner structure. We'll weld it to the bottom, all the way up the back. Like, it'll be boxed in there. Sorry if anyone ever has to take this apart and it's not rotten, because it's going to be, there's a lot of weld in this thing. And then my order came in from Summit today, so I'm excited. We're coming up to the weekend, so get a day off there. I should be able to get a whole bunch done. We have leaf springs, shackles, all that. Hopefully it'll all work out. Be able to put a diff under it. And these came in. These were overpriced for what they were. But this is this piece right back in there. So honestly, this side's not awful. It's a little rotten, so I might just use a small bit of it, but you can tell. Look at that. That'll go nice in there. The other side is the one that is complete garbage. So actually the next thing we're gonna do is take this quarter panel off. Put this side holes. Oh, there's no light in there. But I got both sides. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna peel this quarter off and then finish off the video by getting that structure done. And then realistically, all the ugly stuff has been taken care of. I do gotta do wheel tubs. I might just do that on my own. We'll see, because it's kind of ugly and boring. It's hard to film that stuff. Like filming, like hunched over in there. Nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see it. Then once we get that kind of dialed together, I think we can start putting on the Make It Nice panels. They come on, come off, come on, come off. But really, do that. Rockers came as well, so I'm gonna probably section some in. I don't know if we'll do the whole way up to the front. Man, they are heavy duty, way better than that junk patch I was putting on, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So this thing is gonna be sturdy. Yeah. Okay, let's take this quarter panel off and see what we got going on. But now I took all the bracing off. I mean, this thing's back to, well, it's back to what it is. Back to work. So, panels off. I had a thought, and then, as much as I want to put these quarter panels on, it makes a lot more sense to put the rockers in first, because then they'll get, I think they wrap up into here. Well, obviously if the quarter panel's on, can't really do a whole lot. Anyways, that'll be the next video. So the plan is, the bottom piece of the window regulator, it attaches in this little, let me show you, this little slot, this, like that, so it fits somewhere in there. As you can see, that kind of hole is that hole right there, so it doesn't get anywhere into the regulator. I've already kind of pre-cut. I think I'm just gonna zip that over, zip that out. Everything else should hold itself in place. The whole front of it's already like rotten and missing. So we get that out of there. When that's out, I think I'm gonna plate this top bit. It's just soft right there. So if I go right to that, go all the way back here, we'll just go right over top. Clean it all down, grind it, plate it. This, wherever I cut it, I think I'm gonna use damn near the whole panel and just sandwich it over. Then I can weld it to my new piece of metal I just put in, and then I'll just lap weld it the whole way across here. No one is ever gonna see that. On the inside, it's gonna have a door panel. On the outside, it's got a quarter panel on it. As long as this piece is in the right spot, nothing else matters. So we'll do that, and again, weld the hell out of it, weld the hell out of it, just that much stronger, yet again. So we'll do that times 2. I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. This has been an ugly video to make. It's been hard to be motivated to be out here, but I'm getting near the end. I think next video we'll do rockers, just because that's a win. I like doing rockers, believe it or not. And then we can do wheel tubs while the quarters are off. Much easier to get in and weld everything around as much as I possibly can on the backside. That'll be done from the inside. Yeah, and then we'll be ready for quarter panels on permanently. Well, they're getting welded on, I'm not taking them off. So if you want to buy a thing, you can take them off when they're wrong. I'm gonna fix it with body filler. Yeah, and then once we do all that, it'll be a body, be sturdy, and then we can start putting the diff and all that in there. I think putting it in there now, putting weight on it, is probably not the plan, because it's, well, I guess it's pretty strong right now, but I'd like as much in there as possible. All right, let's go. All right, check her out. She's all together. I did plug weld this, but I also decided just to kind of give her some ugly welds on the other side too. The window piece all kind of lined up. It's ugly on this side because it laps over, but on this side, in the dark, it looked fine with a little bit of black paint. Again, we weren't going for the absolute craziest. We plug weld down the bottom, and then I put some stitch welds in, you know, just kind of hold the thing. So now this will all go down, and that's where the outer quarter panel, it's getting to me, will go on, and we got a nice good bite the whole way down. So we gotta do the same thing on the other side. Put a little patch in there. I think the other side's actually in nicer shape. I actually do have to add a piece at the front, which I didn't do. Yeah, I gotta make this. But you know, I might wait until I see what that inner rocker or outer rocker looks like. I bet it's gonna have some sort of a lip. I don't know if it ends there or not, but that's just a 90 to make. This one, again, rotten in the front, not nearly as bad. Really, we could have got away with not changing this one, but I will. And I don't know if I'll do the whole thing or maybe just, yeah, we'll see. I'll do this one on my own, because how many times can you watch a guy grind and weld and grind and weld a terrible car? But on the plus side, I think, you know what, like, we get a lot of people saying that this car has caused them to get out there and kind of do a little bit of work, which is awesome. I mean, this thing is a big project. I'd say it's on the higher end of projects you would do in your home garage, but it is doable. And I mean, all I've been using is a cordless grinder and a welder I bought 10 years ago. And I mean, some hammers and some basic tools. It's not very difficult. You just have to make sure you power through that give up feeling, which I have every single day, every minute. We just kind of keep giving her. And luckily, I have a few people watch the videos that give me a little bit of encouragement and a bunch of attitude. So that's fantastic. I'd like to get that done tonight in this video, and then wheel tubs, finish welding, rockers on the next one, maybe test fitting them quarters. I think I can get so much done in the next few days. I'm so excited. Okay, let's get this side all dialed together and call her a night. All right, well, this side's all in. Pretty happy with it. Put a little piece in there. Everything's all dialed, and then this one I actually took the window out just because it was the way it went, but everything still fits. So that's good. No worries there. Oh, rockers. did show up, and of course I didn't take them out of the box until I was all done, and rockers include all this stuff. Actually, I bought some quality rockers. They were actually pretty cheap, I gotta say, I can't complain. I got one out this side. But, like it goes all the way, so that's the top bit, it goes all the way over, down, and into this pinch weld. So like that's a lot of meat, and it goes all the way around. Like it's a pretty good panel, and it's pretty thick material. That being said, I am currently obsessed with trying to keep as much of this car as I can. I still think, even though this is probably a decent panel, it looks good, I really think that as much factory metal as possible is the way to go. So what I will probably do, it was rusty up to about there, that's all. Patch I welded in. I'll probably cut it slightly ahead. Well, this one I might do the whole thing, I don't know. And if I join it just anywhere along here, this should be covered by a sill plate, which I probably don't have, but we'll probably buy. Anywhere in here, sill plate, and then underneath we'll take it all down and kind of grind it and make it happen. It'll just be pinch welded together, and while that's apart, whoop, there's another little inner brace in there we can get taken care of. The other side's quite a bit easier. It probably only needs a few feet of this panel. I guess we'll have to get out and just make sure. That's a little rusty at the front there. But I might section it, just do a bit here, bit there. The rockers are pretty daggone structural when it comes to a subframe car. That's where a lot of its kind of meat is. What guys can do, I don't think I will, but they'll take off the rockers and they'll put like a pipe or a big bar in there to stiffen it up even more. A lot of guys do on convertibles and stuff like that. So you can kind of do that. That's kind of like a bit of a rigged up set of subframe connectors. I don't know if I'm going to do subframe connectors. I've only been told like 87 times. I swear to God, you guys have like a club. And it's like, let's randomly message down on Facebook and email them and put in the comment section, have you heard of subframe connectors? In what world, when you look at a car like this, is the priority subframe connectors? They're like you put them on at the end, we put slab bars on. Anyway, it's like a day 2 thing when you change the wheels. That's really it for now. I am out of welding gas. I got 2 tanks. I'm on the Largo tanks, and it seems like since I did that, I was like, oh, I might as well take on all these projects that require all the welding. So between that 57 and now this thing, it's just been absolute disaster. But tomorrow, grab some welding gas. We'll do rockers. I'd like to finish all the welding I have to do in here, maybe wheel tubs. That's going to be pretty ugly and boring. I can then paint all in here, seam seal it, get all that 100% done. I think the wheel tubs are going to be boring. I think that's kind of it for the real ugly fab. Clean everything up while I can, while the fenders or the quarters are off. We'll clean up the trunk drop downs. Anything I see that has to be done, I want to make sure it's all taken care of. Make my life easy and go from there. But those new rockers on there should be stiffened up yet again, one side at a time, as per usual. I'd like this thing kind of done, undercoated, painted, all like underneath, ready to go. Then I can put the rear end stuff in. I have the rear end, I got the leaf springs, I got the bushings. We gotta do fuel tank, we gotta do fuel tank braces. We can do that tomorrow as well. Oh, it never ends. I thought this was a pretty solid car, and I am going overkill. I mean, a lot of you guys that don't have inspections and stuff like that probably could have drove this thing as is, but I mean, we're gonna put serious power, like 250 horsepower in this thing. Nah, it would be a decent little motor, but do it right now and then immediately lose interest, then someone will give me pennies on the dollar for it. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Please comment below. Leave a like and all those good things. And look, I got like fancy clothing. Cabela's, 40% off. Danny thought I was going to wear it out. Nope. Brand new to the garage. That's all I do.